Patch 10.2 Guardians of the Dream is finally here, and Havoc Demon Hunter is looking better than ever. We've had a complete rework with brand new talents, improved survivability, and a whole lot more damage that we've been desperately missing. Whether you're an experienced Havoc player, or a returning player who's coming back to give the spec another chance, this video will tell you everything you need to know to get in there and start blasting. First, let's quickly go over a brief summary of some of the major changes made to Havoc. Sigil of Flame, Demonic Appetite, and Fell Eruption are now baseline. Metamorphosis is now a 2-minute cooldown when talented into a new talent, Rush of Chaos. Darkness was buffed to 30% chance to avoid all damage while in dungeons, and reduced to 15% chance in raid. Survivability has been improved across the board with new talents Demon Hide, Scars of Suffering, and Deflecting Dance. Netherwalk is now an easily selectable talent. A new talent called Inertia is now a choice node with momentum. It's a bigger damage boost, but less often. A new talent called A Fire Inside gives us 2 charges of Immolation Aura and a 30% proc chance to refresh a charge. Another new talent, Chaotic Disposition, gives us a 7.77% chance every time we deal chaos damage to duplicate 17% of that damage. Slot machine. Fell Barrage has been redesigned. It's no longer a channeled ability, but it drains your fury every 0.25 seconds. It lasts up to 8 seconds, or until your fury bar is depleted. In addition to those changes, there's been a lot of tuning and balancing to previous talents. You can see the full patch notes for 10.2 linked in the description below. Alright, let's talk about the part everyone's itching for, the new builds. There's actually quite a few options this time around. Some you might enjoy and some you might not, but I want to stress something in this guide before we dive into it. You can play whichever build you enjoy the most. Let me say it again. You can play whichever build you enjoy the most. There's always been pressure from the community to play movement-centric builds because they're just better. But it really seems like people are coming around to the idea that even though no movement builds technically fall behind in an isolated sim, there's so many more factors when actually putting it into practice. There's raid mechanics, latency, and player performance. This also includes physical and mental fatigue. These sims that we're basing our decisions off of are performing perfectly, with the precise rotation and action priority list set up for the absolute highest possible damage. Truthfully, I don't think there's many players out there who press their buttons anywhere near as perfect as the sims do. So with that in mind, the gap between movement and non-movement is probably a lot smaller than we think. What I'm getting at here is, yes, no mover builds are 100% a viable option. You can still do competitive damage, and yes, you can still get top tier parses. With that being said, why don't we go against the grain and start with a no movement build? Don't worry, we'll get to the fancy new Inertia builds shortly. As a reminder, I have cheat sheets for all of these builds available for free in my Discord, link is down in the description. So, the no mover single target raid build. This build is straightforward and simple. No fell rushing, no vengeful retreating, just planting and blasting. There's not much to this build in terms of rotation, it's as bare bones as it can get. You want to use the Hunt on cooldown, I-beam to enter Demonic, cast Essence Break while in Demonic, and then fill those Essence Break windows with Death Sweeps and Annihilations. Your 2-piece set bonus will be tossing out Throw Glaives every time you press Blade Dance or Death Sweep, so don't worry about pressing Throw Glaive that much. The only time you might want to press it is if you're capped at 2 charges of Throw Glaive and you can't press Blade Dance or Death Sweep in the next couple seconds. Then you're using your builders like Fellblade, Sigil of Flame, and Immolation Aura as you need them, and using that Fury on your spenders. This is the classic BFA gameplay people have been asking for. Now, the Inertia raid build. This is the main raid build you'll probably see a lot of people playing. It takes A Fire Inside and Inertia, which are a powerful pairing when played properly. This build is also pretty flexible, as it's able to perform well in multi-target or AoE scenarios. If you know there's going to be some good AoE opportunities, you could swap Furious Gaze for Ragefire, or if you're in a pure AoE scenario, you could use the build we'll be talking about after this one. When playing this build, there are a few things to remember. You never want to be sitting on 2 charges of Immolation Aura. We want to always have this recharging because not only is it a good portion of our damage, but each use also makes our next Fell Rush buff us with Inertia, and you'll want to make sure you have the Inertia buff before all of your big hitting abilities. So you'll I-beam to enter Demonic, Fell Rush to spend your Unbound Chaos and get Inertia. Then you'll do your Essence Break combo as you normally would, Vengeful Retreat and Essence Break at the same time, and then filling that short Essence Break window with Death Sweeps and Annihilations. You'll get those Essence Break combos every 40 seconds, and in between those, an Initiative window from Vengeful Retreat every 20 seconds. Outside of your Essence Break combos, make sure you're pressing Vengeful Retreat on cooldown to make sure it comes back up off cooldown in time for your next Essence Break combo in 20 seconds. You'll want to utilize Inertia to buff things like the Hunt, Blade Dance, manual throw glaive presses, stuff like that. Now remember, you're not Fel Rushing all the time here. Only use Fel Rush when you want Inertia. If you press Immolation Aura, you don't necessarily need to Fel Rush right away. You have the Unbound Chaos charge for about 12 seconds before it expires. The opener varies whether you get an AFI proc on pre-pull or not, so I'll put up both openers here. As you can see, if you get a proc, you want to Fel Rush right away. Use the Hunt and then press Immolation Aura again to avoid sitting on 2 stacks. You'll Fel Rush again to get Inertia, I-Beam, and then go into your Essence Break combo as usual. If you do not get a proc, you'll use Immolation Aura and Sigil of Flame pre-pull, open with Fellblade, straight into an I-Beam, and then Fel Rush to gain Inertia, use the Hunt, and then carry on with your Essence Break combo. Now here's where the fun begins, the Ignition or the Mythic Plus build. This heavy AoE build is an absolute blast to play in Mythic Plus or any high target count raid encounter. We're taking all the talents on the left and the right, going all the way down into Fel Barrage. Because we've opted to not take Essence Break here, we don't have to worry about doing the Essence Break combo. Your main focus here is spending your Immolation Aura charges, Fel Rushing for Inertia, and using Vengeful Retreat on cooldown to get Initiative. Then you're I-beaming to get into Demonic and spending Fury on Death Sweeps. So where does Fel Barrage fit in then? This is where it gets a little complicated. Due to the new functionality of Fel Barrage and how it drains your Fury and stops once your Fury has been depleted, you need to be aware of what buttons you're pressing while it's channeling. You absolutely do not want to waste Fury on Chaos Strike or Annihilation while you have Fel Barrage going. Ideally, you want to be above 60 Fury when you start, and doing things to generate Fury as best as you can for 8 seconds. This means Vengeful Retreat, multiple Immolation Auras rolling, Fellblade, Sigil of Flame, those types of things. In terms of an opener, it gets even more unclear. We don't have one up on Wowhead or Icy Veins yet, so you can try to craft one on your own, or you can just do a standard opener without throwing Fel Barrage in it, and then just use Fel Barrage afterwards. I'll keep you guys posted on this one. And just before we move on from this build, I want to say that you can sub Fel Barrage for Essence Break, which is probably the better choice if you're playing this in Mythic Plus. Essence Break gives you a lot more prio damage, single target damage, whereas Fel Barrage is a bit more pad and high AoE, so it's going to be up to you which one you take. Of course, the gameplay with this build will change depending on which talent you've selected. So things are a little different this time around, as we aren't playing Cycle of Hatred or Shattered Destiny, which means haste isn't as valuable to us anymore. With talents like Chaotic Disposition, Soul Scar, Fel Barrage, and Any Means Necessary, Mastery is once again a prime stat that you want to look for on gear. So any gear that is crit mastery is your friend. Notable gear that you'll want to look out for and potentially farm is Double Time from Dawn of the Infinites. Having 2 of these will be your best AoE setup. The Thorncaller Claw, which is the fist weapon from Council of Dreams in Emir Drasil. This will be your best single target proc weapon. The Cataclysmic Signet brand from Smolderon in the raid, and of course, all of your tier pieces. Our Abyss gear setup has us wearing all 5 pieces, so get whatever you can. Embellishments are pretty straightforward. You'll want to use 2 blue silken linings for Mythic Plus and late raid prog or farm, but in the first few weeks, using the Toxic Thorn foot wraps along with a Toxified armor patch will likely give you more damage in the end. This decision is going to be up to you which one you craft first, but if it helps you any, I decided to spend my first spark on the boots. Overall, some things have definitely changed for Havoc, for the better. But we're not relearning an entire spec here. If you already had a basic understanding of the foundations, it won't be too hard for you to slot in some new mechanisms like multiple Immolation Auras, Fel Barrage, and the like. And hey, if you're brand new and you're still a little confused, you're always welcome to ask a question in the comments below, or pop by my stream where I'm live multiple days a week and I'm always happy to answer questions. Or you can watch one of these other videos. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.